Welcome to Post Apocalyptic Show. Rob?
This is John.
We're going to head to the future of 1994.
Oh, wow. I love it when they do the future movies, because when you look back on it, like, that was nothing like...
And I think what's so funny is a movie in The Apple, by the way, is the movie. In 1980, it's like the future. 94. It's weird that it was a sort of an odd, like they didn't do 90, 95, or 2000. Like, 94.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's like we want to be sort of, off the cuff accurate with this whole thing.
Yeah. And then maybe that was their thing. It's like 95 seems like we're trying to pick a year. Right. Like, because, like Back to the Future was the fives, and then it's like, all right, that kind of makes sense. But it's like 94,
And it's like 94 now. It's like, wow, that was back in 94. That was old. It's just...
So, yeah, I'll be curious to see what their 1980 version of 1994 is.
Because it is 14 years, though. It's not like way into the future.
Maybe that was it. That was just like, look, this seems, we could guess a few things. But like,
right.
But you look at 1980 stuff and even 94, world of difference.
Totally different. It's always, I guess it happens with every decade.
Yeah.
But I can really sort of delineate 80s from 90s.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why is it 10-year span? Why does it have to be in a 10-year span? Why can't it shift? Like in, say, 87, it was like this, which I'm sure it had. There were some inklings of that, but yeah, if you say 90s, I kind of know what you mean. 80s, definitely know what you mean.
Yeah.
70s, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, their whole thing, I hope it's just like one of those space movies we watch where it'd be like, oh, we're in plastic outfits. And you're like, what are you guys doing? And like, this will be this. It'll just be in like Speedo, vinyl shorts and flying cars. You're like, that's what you thought 94 was going to be?
Like, there's no thought to, does it make sense or does it just have to look like cool or different?
I think that was it. It's just like, make it look different.
Yeah.
Like, whatever this is, it's the opposite.
Right.
That's all. I'm hoping. I know nothing about this movie.
Best way to go in?
Yeah, I think that's the only way to go in. I think it's called The Apple. It takes place in 94. I don't know. I'm in.
Might see Steve Jobs, might not.
Might not Steve Jobs. Oh, and it's also November 1980. We're almost through 1980. Yes.
Almost. It's like 2020. It's like almost there.
Although we've already done this whole thing within the pandemic months after it's just nonstop.
It's true. It's what we do, like the post office.
Exactly. All right, we're going to watch The Apple, and then we're going to talk about it.
All right.
Has a movie never needed more whiskey?
What was the one that we thought we needed it to get through, but this one is just...
I don't know, but this was... Okay, that was it. We did not finish the bottle of High West for this movie. This has been 11 movies coming, although we could have drank the whole bottle.
Yeah.
All right, John, we watched The Apple.
We did. We saw that. We did it.
What was it about?
Loosely, it was just, I guess it was a couple who wanted fame. One of them took it from the devil, and I guess Adam didn't eat the apple.
Right.
And so it was a story about her journey through hell or whatever. Journey.
Yeah.
And then him trying to ultimately save her from that in her coming to her senses and coming back. And then God comes in at the end and saves them and hippie refugees.
There was a lot in this movie.
There was a lot. It was like robust. It was like in your face. I don't know what's going on.
It's an hour and 25 minutes of non-stop something.
And it was just like, is that all? Really? An hour? Because it seemed a lot longer.
They did good. They made it, they stretched it like The Irishman. It felt like a I was never bored.
Yeah.
It just felt long because it was like, I didn't know what was going on and they just kept doing stuff.
I don't think you could get bored just because there's always something new happening, but it wasn't just something new. It was like, it was a whole number. It was a whole, it could be a whole different
country. I don't know if we were in America. I don't know if we were in 1994.
They kept saying we're going to tour America, but then it said the West Coast. So it's like, well, are we already in America and we're going to the West Coast? I need to know where we are.
It's sort of like Tommy Wiseau's version of an American. Like, it's not quite America,
right?
But it's his version of it. So I can imagine us being in a place where someone has never been,
right?
But thinks this is America. But it's to Americans, it's never going to feel like America. But was it Earth? Was it? I don't know what. I don't know where we were.
Hell? Because at the end, yes, it's the story of Adam and Eve, sort of like an idea of it, but then, then at the end when God comes down in his gold Rolls Royce or something,
Rolls Royce or whatever it was, yeah.
He then takes everyone to heaven to find a new place. So it's like, or to find a new Earth. So it's like, are we on hell? Are we on Earth? I feel like they were trying to give a message, but they forgot about it. Like they started in the beginning going, this is Adam and Eve and the apple, and trust me, the apple was this big. So you're like, oh, okay, this is the story of Adam and Eve. I kind of get what you're going with. Then nothing. Then at the end, oh shit.
Right.
This is supposed to be about the Bible. All right, God comes down.
Yeah. And it was everything in between. It was glasses were like this huge. Cars had bubbles on them for some reason.
It was amazing. Like, honestly, like, I get it. It was 1980 when this movie came out. Probably shot, probably the tail end of 79 at this point. I get why they chose 94. It's like, let's just give a future time so it looks different. Honestly, they could have just given you no time. If they didn't tell you the time and this movie just started, it would have been like, you would have just assumed future or alternative timeline or something.
Yeah, 94 had nothing to do with anything. Even in the beginning when the whole concert in the 1994 was...
or 199S.
S or whatever. It's a weird 4. It was like, okay, 1994, and everybody kept saying 1994.
Yeah, and the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Like, okay, we get it. But, yeah, we didn't need 19... I mean, it had no bearing on this movie at all.
Yeah, and I'm surprised they didn't try to go more... Like, his name was... Alfie.
Right.
And she was BB, so I wasn't sure if, like, I'm surprised it wasn't... Like, they didn't try to go with an A and an E name, so, like, Adam and Eve.
Right.
I mean, I guess they're like, no, that's too on the nose. Here's a gigantic decanter. I'll admit, like, everyone was 100% committed in this movie. No one
was, like... Even though I can't say the acting was great, but everyone was totally there.
Like, they read the script and went, let's do this.
Yeah.
Like, the weakling is Alfie. He's sadly the worst actor in this movie.
He's the Wiseau of the whole camp. He's just not good.
And it's like, no matter what they dressed him in, and he wasn't his singing voice. His singing voice was the best part, and it wasn't
him. No.
It was like, he was like baffling bad.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I don't know why they picked him.
Yeah.
Yeah, based on looks, I guess, but he's just...
Aesthetically, he was fine. It wasn't like he was overly handsome or anything like that. He just fit.
Yeah, he fit. And I think a lot of, I'll just say 70s musical, which is, this was
100% 70s musical.
Yeah.
This wasn't even an 80s musical.
No.
70s musical.
It's like 70s. And it sort of reminded me of someone who loves 60s, loves the 70s, wants to make it in the future, but they really know and love 70s, 60s music and themes. So they're going to inject that into a 94 movie, and it's like, 94, and it's like, well, no. Then it has, this whole thing had the spirit of like something from, I thought it was like in the 70s or the 60s. I didn't think of anything in the future. The only thing in the future they tried to do were like costumes, the cars, the set design, but it's still it's still reeked of like, you know, the sort of retro future, design. It just didn't. Like the cars were even the base of the car. What was that car from? Like the 70s?
Yeah,
60s?
it was like they didn't even try to like just make it sleek looking. Like even in like Blade Runner,
right?
You know, they were just like, all right, we'll just make bubble cars or something that at least. And then the interior, although we're never inside the car, like just give it like buttons and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, that was the thing. They committed to this idea of futurism, but musically, if they stuck to like even Kraftwerk, which was sort of futuristic music of the late 70s and then 80s, where it was just all synth, that would have made sense. It's like, this is the future, because it seemed synthy. But it was like, once the music started, you're like, 70s.
Yeah.
Like, you expected Cats or anything to come up, or Hair.
Yeah.
You know, any musical.
There's a lot of those influences in it, like, like Hair, Godspell, all those movies, all those musicals, you know, sort of informed this. Rocky Horror, big time.
Big time. That was the only reason this movie probably got greenlit.
Yeah, it was like another Rocky Horror.
Yeah. Side
note, when I was young, growing up in Maryland, there was a theater in a center, you know, near where we lived. So every time we passed the marquee, it would always say Rocky. I didn't know what it was. It would say Rocky Horror at midnight. And the closest thing I knew to Rocky Horror was like Rocky. And so I'm like, is this the horror version of the movie Rocky? And why is it at midnight? And why is it every week it has not gone away?
Right. And why is there not a Rocky Horror movie? I mean, the boxer has to fight dead people? Like, I want to see that movie.
Copyright, yeah.
Right. All right, John, let's spitball this now. No, I almost the same thing, because I remember not really knowing what Rocky Horror... I remember it growing up being on TV, maybe once or twice. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the theaters would always be like, you know, Rocky Horror midnight, but I never put the two together, like growing up. So it was like, and it was always this midnight thing, and I was like, I never thought that, because that's even more amazing, that it's like a horror version of Rocky, which is awesome.
It's just like...
Or like maybe it's like, did I misunderstand Rocky? Is that a horror film?
Exactly. I'm like, Rocky Horror, and then, but at midnight, okay, I get it at midnight, but all these movies have come and gone. This thing is still here after years and
that
years.
Was it. Yeah, you always saw the marquee for it, and it's like, it's still, and it's like, it's cheap. You know, we sell popcorn, and people come, and you know.
And yeah, so I mean that's just tangent, but it's just like those sort of movies informed this one, and so I get it. So it made me sort of ingest it a little differently, but I mean it was just all over the place.
Because there's no real story. No. Like you don't, like you have your two main characters, which is BB and Alfie, for a minute. Like they're like the main story. Like they come onto the World Vision Song Contest for some reason, playing a folk song in '94.
Exactly.
There's just a lot, but then they're sort of the focus. Then they're about to be signed, and you know, like you were saying, like you know, he has a vision, you know, that you know he shouldn't do it because he sees a vision of hell, and so he doesn't sign the contract. But then it just becomes stuff. Like you don't really follow her rise. She just becomes an instant star. She doesn't crash and burn, and it's like she wants to get out. He kind of wants to get her back, but also write a song. But we're never really focused on him. We're just focused on shit. There's stuff just happening. And I don't even know what the core story was. I don't think there is a core story. It's not like Grease. I understand Grease. And I understand, you know, like, okay, this is the point, and this is why they're singing the songs. But we just went into a song like we're in the waiting room at the record label. And then all of a sudden it's like, who are you? I'm so-and-so. And then we go into a song, and I'm like, and then the record label guy's part of that song, and it's like, what is going on? What?
I know, it's. I think it was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to do this song. I want to do a song about this. I want to have this moment. I wanted these two people to be together. I want this one to be Adam. I want this one to be Eve. and it's a bunch of like moments. Like, what was the movie that we saw? And it was a bunch of moments, but it wasn't like they didn't earn it. And maybe it was the Rick Schroeder.
Oh, the Earthling.
The Earthling. It just didn't earn anything. So when Boogaloo's
which is awesome.
woman,
but that's so funny. It's like such a 70s, 80s name.
right.
But it's like, sure, his name's Boogaloo.
And the most non-Boogaloo looking guy that you.
But he owned the name though.
He went
committed to that
1,000% in. I mean, he was. You would have to pry the sides and the script from his hands on the set that day. He was all in.
And it was just that. Okay, we're gonna put a little like sparkle on you more.
Yeah.
Like he was like, no, go ahead, go for it. Just keep going.
He was skipping to work every day. He was just like loving it. So when I forget her name, but his woman who was the sister of
a Bandy, because it was Dandy and Bandy.
Of course.
But once again, I feel like everyone felt like they should have had a story.
Yeah.
And I feel like this movie was made on beats. Like, not the Dr. Dre headphones.
Unfortunately.
But it was like you said, it was almost like you said, it was like, okay, we need to introduce the characters. Then they sign. Then the one person doesn't sign. This happens and this happens. And they filmed those without doing the moments in between. It was like, we know what we want. But what about the in-between stuff? I will throw a song in there.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it goes, oh, wait, what am I watching? Oh, this is the song about her broken heart? Oh, okay, it's this song about... But we didn't see any push and pull.
No.
She seemed, or Eve, seemed fine with everything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she was just like, I guess after...
But that was weird. So Alfie shows up to Boogaloo, Bim, I guess.
I guess so.
The party. Bandy drugs him, has sex with him in a 7-minute musical montage.
Yes, extended.
That thing just kept going.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, Bandy's like, yes, BB should leave. She should go find her man. What? Like, that had nothing to do with anything, and BB was sleeping with Dandy. These are words I'm saying.
Right. You were sleeping with Bandy. And then Bandy wanted BB.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, the good thing is, though, I remembered names.
Right.
I mean, they made it super simple.
I mean, it was just like in the most... I mean, the futuristic part wasn't like that most out there thing. It was just like... just the regular costumes of... and behavior of our cast. It was just... I have to say, it's out of a 70s movie. It had nothing to do with the 90s.
No.
When I say the 90s, not the actual 90s, but like if you were to think, okay, how would these people dress in the future? No, this is how they've dressed in the 70s.
Yeah.
It's not like...
They just basically amplified 70s looks.
Yeah.
That's all they did was like, well, someone wears that, but let's put a little more stiffness in the shoulders. Done. Like, that was it. They didn't, like, go like what most people did, like from a lot of those 70s, 80s sci-fi movies you would see, where they go super sleek.
Yeah.
Like, it's like white walls or silver walls, and everyone's just in sleek. It's like, this is the future. It's like, all right, you're trying. You know, like this was just accentuated 70s.
No, absolutely.
Like, if you were to watch this, you would have went, so what did this come out, like 75, 76 maybe? You wouldn't think it was made in the late 70s.
There's just no way you wouldn't think that. You would think, because the whole movie feels that way.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't feel like... I mean, yes, you kind of are reminded about the futuristic things with the cars and the... But it still...
But that's like
60s
future. That wasn't even 70s future. That was like 60s future.
I felt like I was sometimes watching like the Jetsons or something. It was just like...
But like, I mean, we can almost talk about how much money they put into this movie. Like, there was that scene when BB finally leaves after Bandy tells her to go. I'm just going to keep saying the name. This is ridiculous. She's just walking, and she's walking down the sidewalk, and then there's all those ornate motorcycles that are just ridiculous.
Right.
You barely even see her. We're across the street, and about 10 cars pass that are all futurized. And they're all different cars, and it's like, you had to dress each one of those cars, and none of those cars were our hero cars, so it wasn't even like, okay, they're recycling the cars we've already seen.
Right.
No, they futurized 15 different cars for a wide shot that we weren't even, like, we're looking across the street. Like, that's a lot of money.
I know.
And wardrobe, like, they spent, that's the one good thing, is like, they committed to this movie. Like, every dance number was rehearsed, every wardrobe, like, everything was in this movie. Like, they committed 100% to everything in this movie.
No, that's one thing you can say. They didn't cheap out on any of this, that stuff, you know.
Not 1 cent.
Yeah, we may think these cars are ridiculous, the motorcycles are ridiculous, but they made sure to dress and fashion all of those things. The costumes. I mean, the cast was, and the company was huge. I mean, these dance numbers were huge, and everyone had to be dressed, and everyone had to be dressed in these, like, weird sort of costumes. And the dance numbers, you know, we're in a cave, we're in everywhere. I mean, it's just...
And there's a different, like, you start off with one wardrobe at the beginning of the song, the middle of the song, they're in hell, completely different wardrobe.
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, that's one song with 3 costume changes. I mean, that's insane.
I know.
And 2 locations.
Yeah, they didn't skimp on it where you go, oh, well, they're kind of... No, they, like you said, they spent the money on it because I think they were like, we got something here.
Yeah.
You know, we got the next.
That's the best part of watching this is they think they had something. Like, that's how committed everyone was that they were going, this is the next Rocky Horror, this is the next Grease, this is the next, this thing is going to stand the test of time. 40 years later, we're talking about it. Has stand the test of time in a different way.
I know. And the music wasn't bad. It's just like, okay, I know what you're doing. It's just, it just needs a little more work in the story and the narrative. Well, a lot more, but it's just
ease up a lot.
But it's like it's the attempt is there, the talent behind it that can pull off these numbers and everything. It's just like we need a story.
Yeah,
you know, we need a better actor for Alfie. But
Alfie with an E,
probably. But it's just, you know, I can't really grab onto anything other than, hey, that guy's going 1,000%. Hey, Boogaloo is...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's loving it. He's having a great time. You know, when people say the review, they're like, oh, so-and-so's having a... You can tell they're having a great time in this role.
He was chewing scenery. Like, he went to set to, like, chew scenery. Right. That was all his only job.
And he did that. He did that.
I think that's
that was the direction.
What's so amazing is that, as weird as it was, I was never focused. Like, I have no idea what the story is. I was never enthralled because of the story. I was enthralled because I didn't know what I was watching. And then there would just be a musical number. It's like, all right, I guess that's what we're doing. And then all of a sudden it'd be things like, well, you don't have a BIM mark. What's BIM again? Did we enter, like, we had to figure stuff out because they gave you nothing.
They just came hard with everything.
Like,
and you had to figure it out. You were like, okay, we were just like, what's BIM?
And I figured it out because I saw
you figured it out.
Yeah, it was like on the outside of the exterior when they were about to sign their contract, it was Boogaloo International Music. And I was like, is that BIM? Like, the fact that, I guess movies just hand feed us now, I had to earn that.
Right.
I felt so accomplished. I was like, that's it.
I got BIM. And it was like, well, why did they run the world?
Yeah, then all of a sudden, like halfway through the movie, maybe, or the middle of the movie, I have no idea what time we were. It was the BIM moment where you had to stop whatever you were doing at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock to go work out. It's like, they're a music company. Why do they run the... I don't understand. It wasn't like BIM International that ran everything. It was like a big corporation. This was a music label.
Yeah, they gave not that they needed to with this. I mean, it's just, they gave no explanation as to why. They had the police. They have everything. He's buying he's buying up everything. He bought the newspaper and
with the tiny microphone.
Yeah,
My favorite
was the tiny.
My favorite moment of, other than the gigantic glasses, is in the beginning they get interviewed and they're in their future.
Yeah.
Everyone else has sort of those long Bob Barker microphones, and there's one interviewer with a mic this big, and he's like, Mr. Boogaloo, and he hands it to, and they commit to it, and I think that's what was so amazing. It's the most ridiculous microphone, and then Boogaloo goes up and puts his finger on it.
And you know everyone was on something when this movie was...
Oh my, it's just the most, like, I feel like if you were high or had an edible, this would be the best movie.
Probably, yeah.
Because it makes zero sense. You don't have to follow it at all.
No.
And it was just, it'd probably make it easier to watch, because, you get towards the end and it's like, why does he have a beard now? It's been a year? Has time passed? Why are the 60s refugees? I'm so confused.
They have a baby? Oh, okay.
It was clearly 2, but
Right.
it's been 1 year. The director whose name, I forgot, I'll just put it up on the screen.
Something.
Golan?
Yeah. Mannheim or...
Yeah, Menahem or something?
Something like
Mannheim Steamroller?
Yeah, there you go.
Did a good job. Like, I don't know what this guy's directed before. I'll maybe put a list up or something. It looked really good. It looked like they put thought into this movie.
It looked good, and shooting a musical is not really easy. So
it was
they
cohesive.
did a really
as ridiculous as it was,
job of that. Yeah,
it was cohesive.
Yeah, and I thought, as thin of a storyline as it is, I thought that it's just going to be disjointed. But I feel like he pulled together as much as he could with the numbers, with the just all the craziness,
Right.
The issues I have is with the story.
Oh yeah.
He did write it, but as far as just directing what he wrote, yeah. Very good.
Well, I think that's what it is. It's like I think we were in, like, even in the beginning when it was like we had no idea. Like, that's the thing. It starts right off. I feel like there's a reel missing, but we jump right in.
There's something missing.
But
Yeah, for sure.
I guess third musical number, it's hard to say. When we're in the waiting room and it's like, oh, I'm here for this, and we go into that song and we start that one pan, and then there's the guy like playing the flute, and it was like, what is going on? And then there's the opera singer dressed like a clown.
Right.
As we're panning, I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? And then everyone breaks out into dance, and it's like, and there's escalators going everywhere in this building. It was like, all right, this is what this movie is.
Yeah.
And then it's just not going to make any sense. And this is what we just have to commit to.
And then you had Boogaloo, and Boogaloo's winking the camera.
Like 100%.
He's just like loving it. Some of those had to be his ideas. Oh, yeah, so I'll wink this time. No, we don't want you.
Like, he just did it every take.
Right.
Like, can you do it with that one? I'll do it this time. And you're like, oh, come on. Boogaloo. I would love, like, I don't think it is. 100% that would be the director of the movie.
Oh, you think so?
I don't think it is, but It's like, that would be the role the director would give himself. It's like, I'm going to be Boogaloo, No, it's the bin police. The bin police. We don't have our bin marks.
We're in trouble.
Wait, so they run the police now? I think that was it. It was like the thinnest story that kept me the most entertained.
Yeah.
For 90 minutes.
I mean, yeah, because at every turn it's something different, but something so ornate. There may be a musical. You don't know. There may be a musical number. There may be a lead-in to a musical number where we're like, oh, is there a musical? Oh, okay, there's no number. Oh, okay, here we go now.
Right.
So it's always something happening. You're like, are we in America? Where are we? And then Gandalf or whoever that was comes in, and he's, I don't know where they are. I thought they were in some European, like, countryside or something with some, I don't know if they were hobbits or children. I don't know what it was.
Alfie wakes up on the beach and there's Gandalf and some little kids, and it's like, where are we? And then that was it. It was like, these are refugees from the 60s, and it's like, no, they wouldn't be refugees from the 60s. Like, that's not the time. They didn't, like, pick them up. And they were all, like, in the 25. And it's like, well, if we're supposed to be 94, they would be babies, like
right.
at their age or what, like they'd be 34 at the youngest, like at newborn from 1960.
Or did they like time travel to like a portal or something?
Well, I mean, when God came down in his gold Cadillac,
it's like I got to take the hippies. Okay.
They're the chosen ones. Like, that's why this movie feels like 1975.
Right.
Like that hippie movement. It's like, no, we're gonna write a movie about we're the chosen people.
Exactly. And like if in 1994, well, because we've been through it, but 1994, no one would be like, okay, but then let's go back to the 60s and have refugees. It's like, no one even knows what hippies are. You know,
right.
It's like
94 was OJ Freeway Chase
right.
and Nirvana.
It's like
that's literally 94.
It's like hippies is it's not a thing, you know.
And like there'd be like retro hippies, like those people that were like,
right.
Oh, that seems cool. They're most likely stoners than hippies.
Right.
But
exactly.
There's been good movies we've watched from January to now November. This is definitely the most fun I've had.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's like they, like you said, they went all out and tried to give you and put on that spectacle.
Yeah.
And they succeeded in that because, you know, there's always something to draw your eye. Even when the scene with, is it Bandy or Dandy? I don't know, the girl.
Yeah.
Dandy or whoever it was behind you, like, I can't stop watching him. Like,
oh,
there's
right.
something
it was
going on.
the dude, Chris Isaac. Yes, Chris Isaac. Chris Tucker guy.
Yeah.
So Bandy's talking to BB. These are words. And then for some reason they frame it. I think that's what was so weird is they frame it so they're here.
Yeah.
And that guy is in the back pouring orange juice and drinking it. And it's like, okay, well, you want me to see him. That's why the camera's there. You're telling me a story. He's just drinking orange juice. So I can't focus on what Bandy's telling BB.
Right.
Because, you know, Chris Tucker from Fifth Element
right now
is drinking orange juice in a white Speedo. This is the movie!
It's like, put some pants on.
Then he turns around and has that robe that says amazing stories.
No, it's just like so we can see it.
It was like, it's the best, worst movie. But it's not even the worst movie.
It's not, but it's just...
It's just, like, I think what it is like, the movies we saw, everything's so melodramatic, almost. Like the ones, and once again, I'm, you know, picking the ones that most people haven't seen. You get to this one and it's like, what are we watching? This is so different than, obviously, Phobia and Earthling and Carney and, like, The Windows. Like, everything, like...
Right.
All those movies also feel connected. Like, you can almost take everything we've seen, minus the apple, feel kind of connected. I mean, it feels at the right time.
Right.
This movie, I mean, yes, we have issues with Earthling and those eyes, those lips, or whatever.
Right.
But this doesn't even feel like, I mean, I feel like we skipped 3 years. Like, this is 83, or we're watching a movie from 78. This is still 1980.
I know. I mean, it's that's what's interesting about it, because you realize this is in 1980. Like you said, it could have been written in 79 and shot in 79. But it's definitely of an earlier time.
Right.
Where it was, I don't know how long this script's been.
Yeah, like, was it written in 73? My passion project is like, should we update it? Nah.
This actually definitely feels like a passion project. Like, can we, save some money on the cars? No. We're going all in. This is my masterpiece.
Like, do we really need 4 motorcycles? We can do 2. 4!
Right.
It's like, why?
And why are the bubbles? What are the bubbles?
So then, and then that Volkswagen, like, Euro van or whatever, wasn't fully decked out, but they decided to put 6 bubbles on top. They're like, let's put some bubbles on top. And that's enough. That's all we can do.
Right.
We're running out of money.
I mean, they had to at some point.
I think, I don't have my sheet with me. I want to say the budget was $10 million, which is...
That was huge for the
1980. But I will say, with having 400 original songs, I don't know, they felt like there was a song a minute in that movie. Dance numbers, being futuristic, it's every dollar's on screen. Who knows if it's all $10 million. There's post-production and stuff like that, but I felt like they decided they put every dollar they could on screen.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't hold back.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, like, I would have been blown. Like, if they said this was a $2 million movie, even in 1980, I would have said, holy shit, that's the best $2 million movie.
I would have too, especially with the cast and everything that...
Because obviously they didn't spend money on cast.
They didn't spend money on cast, but... I was talking about all the
extras, though. I mean,
the extras.
that costs money.
Some of the main cast seemed... Like, you know those extras who are in the background, but they like do a little more just to like, get noticed. Some of these main casts were just doing like the amazing stories. Like he would always just sort of do these things where it's just like, wait, you're not the focus of this scene, but he's just...
It's like those like extra background that are over drinking and eating in a scene. You're like, dude, your background extra. Eat your sandwich like you're supposed to, but he's like... And you're like, what are you doing? And I can't focus on anything but the extra.
Right.
It's like it's like, oh, this is my moment.
Right, my mom's gonna see me.
And it's so funny to think too, when this came out, like I was telling you, I think right when it started, was that you go to the theater and you have the option to see Raging Bull or The Apple. Like the most complete opposite, but still completely enthralling movies, but on a completely different level. Like these two movies were at a theater at the same time, which blows my mind.
Hard to believe, but Raging Bull, De Niro, Tour de Force, and then The Apple. Yeah, which is fun. It's just a fun movie. I mean, you'd have a good time. I mean, Raging Bull is tough.
Yeah, I mean,
tough to watch.
It's so much easier to sit through The Apple.
Yeah.
Then Raging Bull is still great, but it challenges you in a different way, whereas The Apple challenges you to just buy what they're giving you. You're like, fine, I'm in. You know, oh, there's a singing clown.
Like you said, I mean, I don't know, maybe you have to be, you know, under the influence to really...
Right.
Which, I'm sure...
Now people probably watch it that way. The fun fact, I think, when I was looking this movie up, was when it was screened at Cannes, I think, or there was a film festival it screened at, where they gave everyone in the audience the record, which is pretty impressive. So it's like, oh my god, I got that. People were so angry at the movie they threw the records at the screen and ruined the screen. Like, I've never been that angry at any... There's some movies I walked out of just mad that I went.
And that was this movie.
That was this movie at a festival. Like, people literally got the record, probably sitting there going to the screening of this going, oh my god, we get free stuff. To be so angry that you're throwing your record at a screen and ruining, like, you know, probably a $10,000.
Oh, easily, yeah.
And I think that amazed me as a fun fact, whereas, like, I've never been that angry. Even if I've been to film festivals, watch movies going, how did this get in here? Never enough where I want to break anything. I just more like, shit, that was an hour and a half. Damn it. I should have saw this.
Wow. So this must be, if it was at Cannes, then maybe it was just, you know, it's all about cinema. And if it was like 80s, like tail end of 70s, where cinema was... Yeah. Yeah.
But say it was some other festival. How angry would you... Like, you got a free record that you're that angry at the end of this movie. And I know 1980 to 2000, or 2020, where we are now... We're watching it so differently than those people going into a film festival to watch this futuristic musical.
Yeah.
I'm not angry. I enjoyed it, but like I couldn't imagine. But maybe you're right, though. It's like these film snobs. Oh, they gave us a record, whatever. Yeah. But to still then be
But to still throw stuff at the screen.
Roger Ebert, what the fuck? Just throwing like a record at the screen.
Wow.
I've just been like... I mean, I'll keep this. I'll always remember this weird movie.
Right. Wow. Well, I mean, we didn't do that.
No, I mean, it was mostly just like, wow, we did it.
Yeah, I mean, of course we're seeing it, you know,
it's like
in 2020 and hindsight, we're just appreciating it and sort of watching it for something else.
Yeah.
But maybe if you're going to a screening and you're expecting...
I mean, how did they sell? I mean, it literally says, I think, on the poster that it says it's the year 94 and, you know, something, 94 and it rocks or something like that is the tagline. It's such a terrible tagline. And it's like, all right. And maybe they expected different music. Maybe they didn't expect, and also we didn't know it was a musical. Right. Like there was 2 songs in the beginning that were played on stage as songs.
Yeah, because it was like, oh, this is a musical. And I was like, well, maybe it's not. And then when we got into the waiting room, I was like, oh, it's a musical.
And it's like, oh yeah, what's your name? I'm so-and-so with who? And then, bop, 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 and then we start painting with the flute guy, the clown guy, and then, Boogaloo comes down and was like, and that was like a huge number. And then you're like, okay, they're doing the big number first. Then there was the Adam and Eve number. I mean, there was just a number after number.
Yeah.
It's like, what is going on?
And I like how Boogaloo was like, they finally get into his office. And he's like, sorry to keep you waiting. Yeah, we just saw you out there in the lobby.
You were doing the song.
Musical number. That's why you had us waiting.
They're like, were we before them? And do you sing with everyone in the crowd? It was so bizarre. Yeah, I don't. Of all of them, we haven't seen December's movie yet. I'll remember probably 2 movies: Carney and The Apple.
I mean, it's hard to forget The Apple. Hard to forget Carney, though.
I think that's always just going to be performances about anything. And I'll remember most of the movies, but like the ones I'll take away, like watch The Apple, it's weird. Watch Carney, see a young Gary Busey act with a 16-year-old
right
Jodie Foster but they choose scenery in the right way. They're choosing scenery because they're actors, and they're just like, and you just walk away with like, God, they embodied this character, like Daniel Day-Lewis almost. Boogaloo was chewing scenery because he was Boogaloo.
He was Boogaloo, and he got as many winks as he possibly could, and he was hamming it up every time. And it was
the one devil horn instead of 2, and then the glitter and his vampire robe.
I know. So he would go vampire chic, and then he would devolve into Dom DeLuise every now and then, at the tail, like, ha, and I was like, what?
Then he had that dangly earring that didn't make any...
Just like, dress yourself.
I mean, it kind of felt like that sometimes, where it's like you're just seeing these people, like, for some reason the bodyguards have protruding chins with tusks for no reason. So it's like, are there mutants in 94? Like, but then they were like in bodyguards and suits. Then the next scene, they were leather pants and like a gold chain. I'm like, what?
It was just we have a bunch of costumes. We're gonna put them on everybody, and
not like commit to like, okay, they have tusks. We're gonna buy into that, but they always wear their suits. No, they're wearing leather pants and.
I have no idea what.
I don't.
Right. Whatever gets you through.
Whatever gets you through it. Final thoughts on The Apple.
Final thought. Wow. I thought it was fun. I thought it was strange. A thin story. Don't go into it looking for that
thick of a story.
Yeah. Don't go in and look for a story. Or to try to follow, as I was, to be like, well, I got to follow it because I have to talk about it. So I'm like, what can I piece together?
Yeah.
It's just look at it for like the spectacle it is. Look at it for the set design, the costumes, the acting, the the commitment though. Still the commitment.
Yes.
But from all of these people. I mean, I'm not even talking about just Boogaloo. I'm talking about down
Everyone.
to the extra way in the background. Everyone is
committed to this movie.
Yes.
And they read the script going, I'm in.
They have bought in to this for sure. And it's always better to see something like this from people who just have bought in and are having fun. And then so you'd have fun with it.
Yeah.
And you realize it's not, it's not Raging Bull. It's something that,
just not completely.
Yeah, not completely. You can have fun with it.
Yes. Although, like Raging Bull, there was a transformation, like, how he went from, thin to fat, or vice versa. He didn't have a beard.
There it is. I think you may be the first person to equate Raging Bull with the apple. So, good job.
Only time it'll ever happen. Well, thank you for taking a bite of the apple with us.
There you go. You did it.
We did it.
You did it.
All right. like, subscribe, comment, follow, all those things.
All the things.
Thank you for joining us on Post Apocalyptic Show for the Apple, November 1980.
To the close.
We're almost to the end of the year, and then we'll have our post toasties where we talk about the 12 movies that we enjoyed. The Apple one, everything. Just spoilers.
Yeah. Clean sweep.
Clean sweep. All right. Then once again, thank you for watching, and until next time, have a great day.
Yes. Please. Be safe.
Drink some whiskey. That's all we got.